Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm happy you're here today with me. Whether you've been here a lot of times or it's your first time, thank you for spending this time with me. It is spring if you're listening to this in real time, and that means new beginnings, new things are, in nature, new things are blossoming and blooming. And I always feel like that the girls and just us as adults, as caregivers of girls, like we always face unexpected challenges in spring, and it's also full of new growth and new beginnings. So one of the challenges that I'm facing right now is if you can hear roosters or chickens crowing in the background, that's because I have a small farm with chickens, turkeys, ducks. And what they like to do a lot of times is crow while I'm recording a podcast or make weird noises. So just like with my dogs, if you hear strange noises in the background, just please know that we do have a small farm, and their chicken coops are right outside my window. And there's unfortunately nowhere that we can go in our house that doesn't have chicken noises, which is kind of a weird thing, but it's also true. And I feel like if I am, talking to you as a friend and a trusted friend who is giving you my own insight about what I've learned through my experience in teaching girls for over 2 decades and through my clubs and everything, that I've got to be real with you and share parts of my life. So one of them is that I have animals in the background always. And another is that I've had some skin cancer removed from my nose. And so I have a bandage on my face. And now it's not as intrusive as the last one. So I'm really grateful for the progress. But it kind of leads us into our conversation today. And that is common challenges that we face as caregivers of girls, as the girls themselves. And that is talking. So I was just venting or talking to you about some things going on in my life that may seem trivial, but my hope is that it shows you that I'm a real person and that I have unexpected challenges just like everybody else does. And whether it's something silly like roosters and chickens crowing or having a bandage on my face due to a surgery, we always want to stay checked in with our girls. And it's really been a good topic because this is one that actually was written into me about. So if you didn't know, or if you're not part of our email list, just send me an email at girlspositivityclub@gmail, and I'll get you on that list. But once or twice a week, I send emails, and I always ask for ideas for topics that you'd like me to talk about and support you in, because I think that's really important. And so this topic, talking to my daughter, is one that is straight from a mom. So she was wondering about not only how she can talk to her daughter in effective ways, but in also the ways that she can encourage her daughter to talk to other girls too. And this is a recurring thing that I've heard from moms of girls is they have either a shy daughter or an introverted daughter, and maybe they're not that way. So this is the mom that reached out to me. She's very extroverted and her daughter is very introverted. So it's a challenge for her to not only talk to her daughter, but to get her to talk to other girls. And so I think that's a really common thing that happens. If you have a very extroverted daughter, it could be that your daughter needs to listen more. Maybe she's always the one talking, and just making her aware of being a good friend, supportive, and listening to other people too, and other people's ideas. So that's really the topic for today is number one, how do I get my daughter to talk to me? Or how do I get my daughter to go deeper in our conversations? I've heard that from moms before. Is like, I feel like all we talk about is like surface level stuff. And I really want us to be able to go deeper. Or I don't know how to talk to her. Like there was a dad who talked to me about like, I don't know how to relate to my daughter because I'm not a girl. And sometimes this is getting into that tween teenage. It's like sometimes I don't know what to say to her. And the good news is sometimes we don't need to say anything at all. We just need to be there. And so when I think about these types of situations, and there are a thousand more, but these are very common ones, it's like we want to stay in touch with our girls. We need to know what's going on in their lives, but also giving them privacy at the same time, especially at that teenage. They really want to have their own life, have their own privacy, but we also want to stay checked in so that we know that they are mentally healthy, that they're being supported in their life and what they're going through, because there are a lot of things that are unseen and that are internal that we may not even see until something happens. So we really want to be proactive about that. And the best way to do that is by having conversations. And this can look in lots of different ways. So the first thing I think about is like, I remember my own childhood and looking back, like my dad. So I'm going to talk about some girl dad examples because a lot of times, because I am a mom, I'll tend to kind of defer to the mom conversations. But I know that I valued talking to my dad in a different way than I valued talking to my mom. So love them both. And I was really blessed that I had two dads in my life. So my parents divorced when I was really young and I was a baby even. So I don't even really have any memory of my biological dad living with me. But he was always very active in my life. I saw him consistently on the weekends and things like that. But my stepdad, the one who passed away of brain cancer, um, I have a lot of vivid memories of having talks with him. And they often centered around playing basketball. And even though I wasn't like super athletic as a child, I still enjoyed doing those types of things. My dad spent hours with me in the backyard teaching me how to hit the softball, how to throw properly, he spent so many hours with me. I should have been like a star player, but I really was pretty average. And a lot of that had to do with my own confidence. Um, and he would talk to me as we would shoot baskets. He would ask me about different things. I don't even think it was planned. It was just like my mom would be making dinner because that was the tradition in our household. And my dad would be out in the driveway with me shooting baskets. And maybe my mom nudged him and said that I seemed kind of quiet or something, because I had a lot of struggles growing up with feeling like I was good enough and fitting in. And it was in those times that I felt most connected to my dad. And really, there was no agenda. He didn't have a perfect script of what he was saying, because I think sometimes we can get kind of hung up on, well, what do I say? How do I start it? And sometimes you don't even need to. It's just like shooting baskets. And then all of a sudden you ask like an open-ended question, like, how was your day? Or what was something fun that happened today or something like that? And it starts a conversation. Sometimes it just happens naturally and you don't even have to say anything. Because when you're shooting baskets, when you're in a car ride, this would be another time when I would talk to my dad, or when you're outside. A lot of times I was outside when these more intimate or deep conversations would come out, or I would just feel really connected with my dad, was we were doing ordinary things. And before you know it, we were talking about things that really mattered to me, or that were really on my mind, or that I needed advice about, or that I just wanted to say. And he would tell me stories about his growing up or whatever. And the same thing with my biological dad. My biological dad's a very athletic person. We would often do things outside, like hit the volleyball back and forth or ride bikes. Like I remember my biological dad teaching me how to ride a bike. And so did my stepdad. They were both very involved in that. But I remember specific memories with them. And a lot of times our talks would happen outside or with my biological dad at bedtime. He would tell me stories about when he was growing up and I would talk to him. But because I spent more time with my stepdad, who raised me from the time I was a baby, I call them both my dad. So it can be a little bit confusing sometimes when I'm talking to people. But I had a good relationship with both of them, but I felt more comfortable with my stepdad because I was around him more. And with my biological dad, I felt like I had to be on my best behavior and things like that. And even though I know he loves me, it just was a different relationship, and both good, but just different. And so I just remember like my biological dad telling me stories of his childhood at bedtime. It made me feel really connected to him. And then I felt like I could tell him things, and I would ask him questions and things like that. And those kinds of settings are really conducive for conversation. And I saw a couple of Instagram videos this week that got me really choked up because they were of one, a dad who really didn't have time to spend time with his daughter, meaning he had a lot of work to do and he works from home. And I don't know him personally, but this is just from his reel. And his daughter was asking him, who's 13, to work out. Like, hey, will you go for a run with me? Will you work out with me? And he was like, in my mind, I was thinking, I do not have time to do this. I'm going to have to stay up until 1 a.m. to do this. But he just felt this tug and he was like, I need to do this for my daughter. So they stretched and went for a run. And he said he was so glad he did that because I heard this on another podcast too. It's like, no one ever at the end of their life thinks, I wish I had spent more time working. They think, I wish I had spent more time with my family or with my kids. And yes, I understand we have to work and we have to get things done. But, our kids are the main ones who are going to remember if we worked late all the time. They are the ones that care the most, whether we work late or not. And I always think about, these times are precious. And it's like we have to have those spaces and times where we can really connect with them. And a lot of times, yes, vacations are wonderful. I've talked about this before, but it's not necessarily the extravagant times. It's going for a run, going for a walk. There was another video where there was a dad who went for a walk with each of his kids. And he was realizing same thing. It's so funny that those videos both popped up for me. But it's like, he noticed that he wasn't prioritizing time with his kids. And so he had, I think, 4 kids, a mix of boys and girls. And he decided to start having these daddy walks. And every night on one day of the week, he would go on a walk with one of his kids. And he said that he didn't even have to say anything. They just started telling him about their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their worries. Literally, they went for a walk. It wasn't for athletics, it wasn't for speed, it wasn't for anything. They just went for a short walk. And those kids felt so connected to him. And he said it changed his relationship with his kids. And it was even when it was on cold days, they had, hats and everything on. And this was all caught like on the Ring doorbell that he had like little snippets of. What I loved was after their walk, he would hug them and he would kind of hold them for a minute. And it just showed each of the kids doing that. And he said that, he just wanted to show how important that was and how much more connected they felt. And he felt like he knew so much more about their lives. And I know not for everybody, walking isn't the thing, but it can be any kind of activity that you enjoy doing with your daughter and or your niece or whoever it is, the girl in your life. So I think about my mom. We had this certain spot on the steps growing up where we would sit after school and I would tell her about my day. And a lot of times I would cry because I just felt like I could open up to her in different ways than I could my dad's. And I would just tell her how I was feeling about the girls, about the situations. And it was just sitting literally on the steps. And we had a little dachshund dog, a long haired dachshund named Digger. And Digger would sit with us, and I believe that animals feel, our emotions. And so she would sit with us and we'd have these chats. And then usually we'd have like an after school snack afterwards. Still gets me choked up even thinking about it. And, in the car is always good. I've always had good conversations in the car because you're driving, you're not looking directly at each other. They're either in the back seat or beside you. And it's just like this neutral zone where you can just talk. And, I think even me being a parent of a teenager, it's like bedtime. Bedtime is that quiet time, where it's like all of a sudden these things start coming into your mind. And it doesn't mean you wait every time to talk at bedtime. And it doesn't mean that every night you have this long, deep conversation. But it is fun, even for you and your daughter or niece or whoever, and I mean, this would be daughter situation, but you lay with your daughter in her bed, like, or sit beside her bed, and you just say, what was something good that happened today? And it's forcing her to kind of look for that. We call it a yay in Girls Positivity Club. What's your yay today? And even having that is such a great conversation. And if they don't have a yay and they're like, it wasn't really a bad day. I mean, a good day. It was not great. You can say, well, tell me about it. Are you open to talking about it? That question is so powerful. They might be tired and it might not be the right time, but if they are open, it allows them that space to talk with you about what's going on and clue you in. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, you have to solve it or do anything else. It's just providing that space, that safe space for them to talk. That's so crucial. And I think we overestimate that we have to spend all this time, or it has to be this long thing, or like a talk, a serious talk. Like, I want to have a talk with you. I think it's those casual times that we can just work in, where it's at dinner time. Okay, what was everybody's yay today? And everybody shares a yay of their day. Or it's, in the car, anything funny happened today, or anything make you happy today, or do you enjoy, or whatever. You just, and sometimes you're going to strike out. Sometimes it's going to be like, no, nothing happened, or I don't know. And the point is, we keep showing up and we keep trying, because there are days, I mean, let's be honest, I've said the wrong things. I've asked too many questions. My family calls it machine gun questioning, where it's like I'm drilling them. I'm like, I'm literally interviewing them. Like, I'm not even having a conversation. This just feels like an interview. And then later I'm like, shoot, I blew that, And we all have those moments. It's not about being a perfect parent. It's about creating those moments consistently for our girls, so that they know they have the space to share. And you may feel confused, because even the mom that reached out to me, I know for a fact that she's very extroverted and her daughter isn't. And it's very hard for her to relate to that. And it's like, well, it may be confusing, because sometimes, like I said, a conversation bombs, or it could be like your daughter doesn't know how to express her feelings. Like, maybe she did when she was younger, but as she's getting older, like, she doesn't know how to say certain things. So I've found that it's like saying these things like, um, you know, there is nothing that you can ever say to me that would make me stop loving you. There's never a time when I'm going to be so mad at you that I abandon you, or whatever it would be. Like, I think in their minds, it's like they're so afraid of disappointing us sometimes, even though it may not seem like it, that they withhold what's going on. And I know I had a moment last week with my teenager who was going through something at school. And it was like holding it in wasn't helping. And so it was allowing that space. And did I do it perfectly? No. But it was allowing that space and being like, you're not acting like yourself. What's going on? No, I don't want to talk about it. And it's like, well, I feel like that, I've noticed this, and I just want to make sure you know that I'm here for you if you want to talk about it. Sometimes it's just saying that and coming back to it later. And it's not about like it going perfectly. It's about making the effort consistently. And if you think about it, again, we've talked about this before, but it's like PAT, Pat. This is easy to remember. The P is the place. Where is the place that I'm going to check in? It can be one place to start. Is it at bedtime? Beside her bed? Is it at the dinner table? Is it in the car? Is it on a walk or a hike if you do that in your family? Where is the place where I'm going to check in? The A is the approach. Am I going to have a verbal conversation? What will I say in that case? If it's at dinner, let's all share a proud moment of the day. Or let's all share. I know Sarah Blakely shares, the founder of Spanx, shares that her dad every night at dinner said, I want to know one thing that everybody failed at today. And that may seem like counterintuitive and like, why would you ever want to say that? He celebrated that because it showed they were trying. Or you could say, what's something that everybody tried hard at today? And it could open it up. And you might have those nights where everybody's like, I don't know. And then maybe that's when you share. Well, I'll share mine. And then you think of an idea, whatever it would be, and you give an example. Or you all laugh about that. Well, okay, that was a great conversation. You like make a joke about it and try something else. So if it ever isn't working well, just chalk it up for experience, like we teach our daughters, and try something different the next time. It might have been the place. Maybe the dinner table wasn't where she wanted to share about those things. A car ride, maybe that is just, there was too much going on in the car. Or I've heard parents say that they get nervous in cars, or they're always, on their phone in the car. So maybe that's not the right place. Maybe it's more at bedtime, or maybe it is during a walk, or whatever it is. So thinking about the place that's best for you and your daughter, and it's just going to be trial and error. You trying different things. Maybe it's in the kitchen, with food. Sometimes you're making dinner together. Sometimes you're like, you want to make cookies with me tonight? Maybe it's just the break kind that you just literally get the package open, break them apart, and put them on a pan. But it provides that space and that non-threatening environment. Not that you're threatening your daughter, but like to them, they feel kind of on the spot sometimes. And we want to provide those spaces where they feel safe. And it doesn't mean that you have an unsafe home or community. What I mean is sometimes they feel like they don't know where to talk about these things. And I think as much as we can create these opportunities for them in these spaces where they feel that the guard is down, they're not going to be in trouble, the better. And then the A in Pat is the approach. Are you going to verbally talk about it? Are you going to send a little text? I know with my teenager, I've been able to send texts before that are very supportive. I'm like, hey, I know that you were really tired this morning. I just want to let you know that I've noticed your effort lately in this. And I wanted to say, I'm proud of you, or whatever it is, like whatever kind of a supportive text you want to send. I'm always here for you. Like when we've had rough mornings before, I've sent a text and been like, and this is a 15-year-old. So this is, someone who has a phone. I didn't like the way our morning went today. I want you to know I love you, and I'd love to talk about it more later if you're open to it. Something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but it could be something like that. And, when it's gone badly, and many times it has for me, like I said, I do the machine gun thing where I'm just asking question after question, or I get frustrated that there isn't opening up. It ends up in this fight somehow. And I'm like, how did this even happen? I was going into this with a heart, big heart, and open heart, and trying to have a heart to heart conversation. And it just wasn't open at that time. Like it wasn't well received. So I've let it kind of die down and tried to force it, and it went terribly wrong. And then I just went back later and just said, when I came in earlier, I wasn't trying to start a fight. I just wanted you to know that I was there for you. And I've noticed that things have been a little bit off. I just want to let you know that I'm here if you ever want to talk about it, and just letting it go. And then, saying those statements like, I care about you. I'm here for you. No matter what, even if you don't think I'm going to like what you have to say, I want you to know I'm a safe person to go to, and that I'm going to be there for you to help you in any way I can. Them having that warm adult is so crucial for them knowing that they don't have to hide things from us, or that they're going to get in trouble if they tell us something that we know that we're not going to like, or they know we're not going to like. So that's the approach, the A, impact. And then the T is the timing. So we've talked about this before. When is your daughter more open to talking? Is it in the morning? Hey, what are you looking forward to today? Is she the kind of person who wakes up and is like really well rested and feels really good and is like a morning person? If you have a morning person, that might be a good time to talk to them at breakfast as they're getting ready. Some women and girls and even dads like to hang out. My dad would always check on me when I was getting ready in the morning and like just have a quick chat. That was a thing. So if you have that kind of a girl, that would be good. And then also, you know, if you know it's not a good time, just not doing it. Like I always knew that when, I was hungry was not a good time for me to talk because I tend to get hangry. And so my mom usually knew that I needed a snack. Maybe I talked a little bit, but I did better once I had a snack, because I just was hungry, and talking to me when I'm super hungry or I'm tired was not the best time. So there might be some nights when bedtime's a terrible time to talk and go super deep. You just want to have a quick check-in, do whatever your nightly routine is, and then, save it for another time. And, I think that that's really what's crucial is having that consistent time where we do check in and we do open those conversations for our daughters. And then, they can do the same when they have friends and mentors and other adults in their life that they know they can go to too. I know we would all want to have our kids come to us for everything, but I think it's really good that they have different people in their lives they can go to. And the truth of the matter is that their friends are going to be those people for them too. So just making sure that they have solid friends, and we're not truly going to know every single time, but it's having that variety of people. It's you being a person for them, or an auntie being a person for them, or a coach. I know a mentor, a coach, a leader in some way can be a really good person for your daughter to know that she can go to. So whoever that is, and I hope that you have that role as well. I hope that these conversations were helpful for you. Please let me know if there's another topic that I can talk about. And the biggest compliment that you can give this podcast is to send it to another mom or a caregiver of a girl dad, anybody who you think that this would positively impact. I would really appreciate it. And any kind of a 5-star review or your feedback will be greatly appreciated. And until next time, keep raising those confident girls. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.